In late 2020, I ditched my noisy 2017 MacBook Pro for the then brand new M1 MacBook Air. It's become my daily driver ever since, and surprisingly, it might be my favorite laptop ever. The specs on paper might not scream powerhouse as it only has 8 GB of RAM, but for most users, it's surprisingly capable. Everyone uses computers differently, so let's break down mine. First, I don't game on my MacBook. If you're a gamer without a dedicated gaming rig, steer clear. Despite Apple's efforts to entice developers with porting incentives, the gaming landscape on macOS remains a persistent challenge. While this video won't delve into the specifics, it's worth acknowledging the ongoing struggle for a robust gaming library on Mac. My primary application? The browser. I'm a Firefox loyalist, and while it's not the fastest on macOS, it's my jam. On a typical day, I might have a few YouTube tabs open with one playing, social media like Reddit, Twitter, or Instagram, Notion for note-taking, and maybe some Google searches and Gemini inquiries. Beyond the browser, my app usage is light. I use Local Send for file transfer between my Android phone and MacBook, and Tailscale for remote access to my home PC. The most demanding program I use daily is DaVinci Resolve, which I use to edit this very video. For YouTube, I edit in HD. While I sometimes shoot in 4K, I find 4K editing a resource hog for YouTube purposes. However, my M1 MacBook Air handles those hefty 4K files effortlessly, despite the 8 GB RAM. This is all thanks to the M1 chip's hardware decoding. However, my YouTube projects are relatively simple in terms of effects. Typically, I add text overlays and avoid heavy color grading. If you're a professional video editor, the M1 chip might bottleneck your workflow. But then again, you probably wouldn't be looking at an entry-level MacBook Air for professional editing. One concern I had was swap usage. After researching this topic, I learned that SSDs are much more durable than most people think, so I shouldn't worry excessively. As you can see, even with 15 open Firefox tabs and a basic DaVinci Resolve timeline, app switching remains smooth. I haven't felt the need for an upgrade for my specific needs. Apple's latest MacBooks have sparked heated discussions. In 2024, they're still offering base models with only 8 GB of RAM, leaving some users frustrated and others questioning who actually buys them. I understand the frustration. RAM prices are relatively low nowadays. As a PC builder, I can tell you that 32 GB of RAM is quite affordable for most new computer buyers. Yet Apple continues to roll out new products priced over $1,000 with a mere 8 GB. It's not like they're using a special, hard-to-find type of RAM. It's just RAM. So while 8 GB of RAM on a MacBook might be sufficient for average users like me, I wouldn't recommend buying the M2 or M3 MacBooks with 8 GB. Instead, consider a refurbished M1 MacBook Air. They're readily available for under $600 and are, in my opinion, the best budget laptops on the market. The newer M2 and M3 versions are priced at $999 and $1,099 respectively. That's almost double the price of the M1 model. And for most entry-level tasks, the M1 is perfectly capable. Sure, benchmarks show the M2 and M3 chips outperform the M1, but how does that translate to real-world use? For lightweight tasks like web browsing, switching from an M1 MacBook Air to a much pricier M3 model won't yield any noticeable improvement. Even in heavier tasks like video editing, the 8 GB RAM limitation will likely be the bottleneck before the processing power of the M1 chip. You might see slightly faster render times in DaVinci Resolve, but the timeline performance would be similar across all 3 MacBook Air models. Even at a price tag under $600, the M1 MacBook Air delivers a stunning display, an exceptional trackpad, and a battery life exceeding 10 hours. Apple's renowned software support is another major advantage, likely extending for at least 5 more years. For those who appreciate timeless design, the classic aesthetic of the M1 MacBook Air remains a significant draw. If you're a light user like me, the clear target audience for these entry-level MacBooks, snag the cheapest M1 model. It's still a fantastic everyday laptop. If you've already tried the M1 MacBook Air and find it lacking, skip the 8GB versions of the M2 or M3 and opt for versions with more RAM. While the M1 MacBook Air remains a fantastic choice for light users in 2024, be mindful of the 8GB RAM limitation. If multitasking heavily or future-proofing your purchase are priorities, consider a model with more RAM or explore alternative laptops. Ultimately, the best choice depends on your individual needs and budget. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below what factors you consider most important when buying a new laptop.